is called Now Praise Intelligent Design. Daddy, don't go down quote mine. I have to add that last bit because, of course, now praise intelligent design is just asking for trouble. Just as the feminists have rallied around the phrase, take back the night, and just as less appealingly, the wingnuts have resolved to take back America, maybe we should take back intelligent design in the true sense of the word. Let's intelligently design our morality, rather than trying to read what's right and wrong in a 3,000-year-old book. Religion has hijacked morality for centuries. Let's take it back and intelligently design our morality. Let's intelligently design our lives rather than be dictated to by priests and mullahs. Let's intelligently design our future. The gift of foresight is ours, something that never existed before brains, for practical purposes human brains, evolved. Take back phrases like pro-life. It's been well said that for a religiously based Republican, life begins at conception and ends at birth. The real pro-lifers, people like Doctors Without Borders. Our foundation, under its arm called Non-Believers Giving Aid, raised over $500,000 for Haiti at the time of the earthquake from non-believers, which we sent to Doctors Without Borders and one other secular charity. Take back American values from those who have usurped them. For true American values, the values of Jefferson and Madison, as Sean Faircloth has said, the values of Thomas Paine and the Enlightenment. Take back spirituality, not under that word I suggest, but the idea of a sense of wonder when you look up at the Milky Way, hijacked by religion. They don't have a monopoly on poetic wonder at the glories of the universe. Even, perhaps a bit more trivially and facetiously, take back Christmas, the winter solstice festival, celebrated by the ancient Druids with mistletoe and holly, and later hijacked by the Christians. Religion even managed to hijack technology, when tribal peoples used to be impressed by missionaries who had telescopes and guns and compasses and things, and thought that these wonders of technology were the products of the Christian God, rather than of Western science. So back to the idea of intelligent design itself. The only entities in the universe capable of either intelligence or design are brains or equivalent computational devices. These are not supernatural, they're natural, and they come into existence by explicable processes, taking a long time, of which evolution by natural selection is the only one we know about. It may be the only one in the universe. But to talk of praising intelligent design is, of course, to run a gauntlet of potential quote-liners, which is the reason for my parenthetic rhyming subtitle. I'll return to that if I have time, which I may not. The ability to design is one of the crowning glories of our species. Bridges, planes, buildings, ingenious contraptions of all kinds. The essence of design, in this true sense of the word design, is deliberate foresight. The designer works on a blueprint, makes calculations of the likely effects of varying parts of the design, runs computer simulations, builds models, uses imagination, peers into the future, and asks the all-important what-if questions. But living bodies have an astonishing property to mimic design. A bird's wing looks designed, When an engineer analyzes the detailed anatomy of a wing or an eye, an ear, a red blood corpuscle, he's bowled over with admiration for how carefully calculated the details seem to be, as though calculated by a master engineer. In David Hume's words, all these various machines, and even their most minute parts, are adjusted to each other with an accuracy which ravishes into admiration all men who've ever contemplated them. The curious adapting of means to ends throughout all nature resembles exactly, though it much exceeds, the productions of human contrivance, of human design, thought, wisdom, and intelligence. This illusion of design, of course, is what has misled generations of people to think that because it looks designed, it must be designed. It wasn't until the middle of the 19th century that we realized, thanks to Charles Darwin and a couple of others, that there is another way, a genuinely effective way, a way that works, in which apparently designed entities can come into being by purely natural, comprehensible processes. Evolution by natural selection. And now, of course, we understand that deliberate human design, what we might call true design, is itself a product of that older pseudo-design, which is natural selection, a product of brains which are put together over a long period by the old type of pseudo-design, natural selection. Let's call them paleo-design, the ancient pseudo-design, natural selection, and neo-design, the modern, true, deliberate, premeditated design, which did not come into existence until late in the universe when brains had evolved large size. I think it's rather a delightful thought that natural selection, having hit on so many pieces of good pseudo-design, paleo-designed devices, the eye, the wing, the ear, the joint, the heart, the sting, the lung, the neuron, the brain, should finally come up with a new device which actually mimics the process of natural selection itself and produce design 2, neo-design. The sort of design that makes bridges and planes, computers and cameras, can openers and adjustable spanners. Wrenches. I have to wrench my mind back into American English sometimes. So intelligence and design come late into the universe, but it's for a very principal reason, not just a matter of fact. The reason is that intelligent agents like brains and computers, entities capable of designing things, are necessarily complex. They're statistically improbable in a functional direction. Complex, statistically improbable things don't just happen spontaneously by luck. That's what statistically improbable means. This is the utterly mistaken basis for what is by far the commonest creationist objection to evolution. It's a generalization of the astronomer Fred Hoyle's Boeing 747 argument. Fred Hoyle said that a hurricane blowing through a junkyard will never assemble a Boeing 747, and by the same token, he thought that anything as complicated as a living organism, or indeed a molecule from a living organism, a macromolecule, couldn't come into existence by chance, by random luck. Well, of course it couldn't. That's the whole point of natural selection. Natural selection is not a random process. It's the very opposite of a random process. Randomness enters into it in the process of mutation, though even that's not random in every sense. Even mutation is only random in the sense that it is not directed towards improvement. Natural selection is directed towards improvement. Improvement in the special sense of becoming better at surviving, or more poignantly, reproducing. Sometimes neo-design can be better than paleo-design. Sometimes paleo-design has revealing flaws that show it up for what it is. The most telling example I know is is the recurrent laryngeal nerve, for example, in a giraffe, although any mammal would do. The recurrent laryngeal nerve is it's a branch of one of the cranial nerves. It starts in the brain, and it goes to the larynx, it goes to the voice box. But it doesn't go straight to the voice box. It shoots down the neck, straight past the voice box, down into the chest, loops its way straight around one of the main arteries in the chest, and then it goes straight back up again to the larynx, which is its end organ. I took part, as part of a television program, in a dissection of the neck of a giraffe. It was a very wonderful experience for me. And I didn't, but I sort of assisted at dissecting out this remarkable nerve. And in a giraffe, the detour of the recurrent laryngeal nerve is about 15 feet. It's about 15 feet longer than it should be if it was well designed, if it was intelligently designed. You actually see the nerve going within an inch of the voice box, which is its target organ, going way, way, way down the giraffe's neck into the chest, turning around again and coming straight back up again. No engineer worth his salt would do something like that. And you know the same is true of the vertebrate retina. Unlike the mollusk retina, the retina is backwards. The light-sensitive cells, which pick up the light, don't point towards the light, they point away from it. And the wires that connect them to the brain are in front of the light, in the way of the light. And they crisscross their way over the surface of the retina, presumably getting in the way of the light, and then dive through a hole, which is called the blind spot, and go back along the optic nerve to the brain. Bad design. Both those examples of bad design are entirely explicable once you factor in evolutionary history. In the case of the recurrent laryngeal nerve, for example, in our fish ancestors, the most direct route of the nerve which was to give rise to the recurrent, which was to become the recurrent laryngeal nerve, the most direct route to what was then the end organ, was indeed behind the equivalent of that artery. And then in the evolution of the tetrapods and the evolution of the mammals, as the neck got longer and longer and longer, fish don't have a neck, as the tetrapod neck, the mammal neck, got longer and longer, the detour got minutely, generation by generation, longer as well. The marginal cost of each additional millimeter of detour was small compared to the marginal cost of the major embryological upheaval which it would have taken in order to jump the nerve over the artery. So the recurrent laryngeal nerve, the bad design of the recurrent laryngeal nerve, makes perfect sense in the light of history. And the same is true of the retina being backwards. When you think about it, it's actually remarkable that biological, quote, design is as good as it is. Because biological design cannot go back to the drawing board in the way that true intelligent design by human engineers can. It's as though you were condemned as an engineer to evolve the jet engine from the propeller engine by changing it one screw at a time, one rivet at a time, one nut at a time, instead of just throwing away the whole propeller engine and starting afresh with a clean drawing board. Imagine if engineers had to do that. Imagine if the designers of the jet engine had to evolve the jet engine step by tiny step from the propeller engine, and every step of the way had to fly and had to be a little bit better than the one before. No wonder living creatures are not perfectly designed. It's astonishing that they are as well designed, apparently, as they are. We, unlike evolution, can intelligently design the future. Natural selection does a really surprisingly good job at producing things that look as though they're very well designed. But the one thing natural selection cannot do is look into the future and take account of what might happen in the future. It has to favor short-term advantage at every step of the way.